Avocado Festival. Enjoy it. We are officially open.
The idea for the California Avocado Festival began in 1986 at a meeting between community leaders Rob Godfrey, Connie Corbell, Debbie Murphy, Fran Puccinelli, Bob Ely, and John Franklin. It's a festival to promote both avocados and the Carpinteria community.
One of the main purposes of the festival is to support our local nonprofits, service organizations, and schools and churches, and I think we've succeeded.
I'm with the Morning Rotary. We like to meet people. We also have calendars, our unique calendars, and I think the 11th year.
We're fortunate to be here with Carpinteria Beautiful in this lovely city.
The Lions Club is a local community organization. The money that we raised last year, we gave $33,000 back to the city of Carpinteria to different groups.
We're at the Carpinteria High School Cheerleader Guacamole booth.
We're representing the Carpinteria High School Booster Club, who supports all the boys and girls athletic teams at Carpinteria High School.
This is the Carpinteria Chamber of Commerce beer booth.
3 stages, 60, 70 bands every year. It's family fun, safe, good food. We're a zero waste festival. I'm co-chair this year with Mike Lazaro. He's involved with just about every special event in Carpinteria.
There were lots of people that said we don't need a pool in a beach community. There were people who thought it would never ever be used. The school board at the time, I think, made a very good decision to allow the pool to be built there. What is fascinating in the end of the day, when you go to the pool, you'll find that it's always busy there.
Many people feel that the city council election of 1990 was a Carpinteria turning point. The winners were Donna Jordan, Brad Stein, and Mike Ledbetter.
What got us elected, I believe, is people wanted to preserve Carpinteria's nature, its small town charm, is a term that was used widely at that time.
Up to 1990, there had been a continuing effort to develop the bluffs. Some felt this was necessary in order to have a higher tax base, as the city was in poor financial straits. The previous council was for Measure M, that would have created a redevelopment agency, encouraging hotels to be built at the end of Linden and on the bluffs, but it was voted down. The 1990 slate wanted to save the bluffs as open space, and they felt there were other ways to improve the city's financial situation.
I remember at that time, Alan Coates, after we were reelected, that you needed to have all this development to keep balancing your budget. And I know that the three of us, when we were elected, we saw things a little differently.
Donna Jordan recalls the last staff report before they took office.
It basically said the city will be out of money by a year from June, which should have been June 91, and there was nothing left in the reserve fund, and you'll either have to raise taxes or cut services severely. And that's kind of what we were facing. And yet, after a couple of years of bringing in a manager whose strength was budgeting, we began to build up the reserves. I think they went as high as $5 million, and the city had enough money put away to weather this recent downturn and do very, very well.
Pretty drastic reorganization of City Hall, and the employee structure at City Hall was undertaken and resulted in the reserves growing back to millions of dollars, where I think they still are.
And they hired Paul Marangella, who brought tremendous change in terms of the inside of City Hall, all of us.
Hi, Paul. How you doing there? How's it going?
We kind of all struggled along at first because this was a new way of thinking. I mean, good grief, we were told that we were going to have a computer on every desk. I mean, who had ever heard of that? You know, I mean, it was just so many big changes.
Al Clark was the slate's campaign manager and talks about their agenda.
They wanted to provide more open government, more participation of citizens in government, more listening to citizens.
They wanted to do the business of the city openly. And I remember the old council kind of fighting against a certain councilman who I will not name. Said, you know, we're going to give a forum to our local terrorists. meaning us, to go and speak. Now, of course, we take it for granted that you will be able to go and speak openly and people will know what it's all about. It wasn't like that before.
The three of us were the first to start televising city council meetings.
Broadcasting the council meetings was a tremendous step forward to including the community in the legislative process.
One person who came in one night with bedroom slippers on came running in the back door because they'd been sitting at home watching and they wanted to come down and say something about that issue.
Yeah, they still do.
When we started televising and taping the council meetings, and you had to work in this little closet in the women's restroom, and so you've come a long way since then.
Another Slate platform was moderate growth.
It was the Herald at that time. They were very pro-development. You know, you must develop or die. We were accused often of being no growthers, which was never true. Now we feel like we're in control. And when somebody comes in from outside or even within with something that doesn't fit, they're told to skedaddle.
It was kind of a big deal because we became the council majority. And at that time, the big issue facing the city was development on the Carpinteria Bluffs, where the nature preserve is now. 200 or more condominiums were planned for that space, and the former city council was in favor of that plan. The community didn't seem to favor that plan and elected us to put an end to those plans.
After the Slate won, but prior to their swearing in, the Lame Duck City Council met and approved a Bluffs development, which immediately went to the Coastal Commission. This led to an 11th hour race to the commissioners' meeting.
There were commissioners who were opposed to our withdrawing the application. So yes, they were poised to approve it at that time.
Mike and Brad and Donna were inducted into put on the city council, and immediately after that, Mike Ledbetter was sent. I mean, immediately he left right from the city council chambers to travel to San Diego. I believe Arturo Teo drove him down there, and he got up to testify at the Coastal Commission saying, yeah, we're the new government in Carpinteria, and we'd like to pull that plan back because there's a few more things we want to look at.
So the Bluffs development was put on hold, only to be revisited with some more nail-biting events a decade later. The 25th anniversary of incorporation was a big deal. There was a street dance, black tie party, and flea market. Event organizer Guy Robitaille managed to get a Navy destroyer to also participate. The large ship was anchored off the end of Linden Avenue.
And they lit that thing up. You'd think it was Christmas every night. We had a fishing derby, and it was beautiful to see that those guys had their boat, and they knew we were having a derby right in front of them, and they blinking their lights.
But there was a controversy with that Navy thing, to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah. Why was that?
It was warlike, and we don't do war.
The Robitailles remember some of the complaints that were made about the sailors.
Your daughters are going to get raped.
Oh yeah, the sailors were going to raise all kinds of hell in town, and it was going to be all kinds of, there were just some people that just didn't like anything that had to do with war. And so we had to put up with that kind of thing.
As it turns out, there weren't any problems with the sailors. In fact, they even participated in the dryland canoe races, also part of the anniversary celebrations. Wade Nomura was on the winning team that raced up Linden Avenue.
They made a canoe that was land-worthy. They put 4 coasters underneath it from dumpsters, and we actually had to paddle those things. If you went around the island, it has a flagpole in it.
Ted Rhodes' team had a special significance for him 10 years later with the Bluffs acquisition.
It turned out to be some of the key players in the acquisition effort, and I was steering the boat, and I ended up steering the campaign.
Santa Barbara County experienced a severe drought in the late 80s and early 90s. Santa Barbara built a desalination plant, and some unique businesses sprang up.
The popping up of small businesses that would come out and dye your dead lawn green, and opportunity knocks, I guess, but it was punctuated by a period where suddenly we got 60 or 70 inches of rainfall over the end of one winter and the whole of the other. And it was, the final exclamation point on that was the March Miracle.
And at the end of the drought, the voters in Carpinteria Valley as well as Santa Barbara, Montecito, Goleta, and throughout the county approved participation in the State Water Project. It resulted in the construction of a pipeline connecting Lake Cachuma with the California Aqueduct.
I've been on the water board since 1996, and the idea that the community is exporting $3 million a year just to pay for the construction costs of that, but then when we need it, it doesn't produce much in the way of water, has been very sad.
What is now known as the Linden Field at the end of Linden Avenue didn't always look so good.
Well, the grass was all dead and it was just like a gopher city. We went and took it over and cut a deal with the state park. Well, we're going to collect parking fees in your state park to offset. We will pay to put in irrigation systems and maintain it because your backyard is actually our front yard down to the beach. And so we did that, and then we were able to use that park and provide it to the community at a better level of service.
Bill Clinton and family stayed in the area just before he took office. He stayed at the Bloodworth Thomasons on Padaro Lane. A minor controversy erupted as to whether the vacation home was in Carpinteria or Summerlin. Bill Clinton jogged on Padaro and Santa Claus Lane and ate at the Nugget in Summerlin. For a moment, it looked like Carpinteria's Robotized Candies was connected to another president.
Somebody started the rumor that Chelsea wanted to come to the candy store and that Bill was going to bring her to the candy store. But before you know it, we had a crowd of people outside waiting.
The traffic was stopped. You couldn't drive a car.
They even had a time of when they were supposed to happen.
I even went to that, but darn it, he didn't show.
And as long as we're on the subject of presidential visits to Carpinteria, many don't know that Richard Nixon visited here too and stayed at Sandyland Cove.
I'm Martha Hickey, and I'm fortunate enough to have probably the only picture that was taken of Richard Nixon when he was in Carpinteria back before the '72 elections.
In order to offer trash recycling services and for other reasons, the city of Carpinteria changed its refuse franchise from Channel Disposal to Harrison & Sons. Initially, it caused a minor uproar.
Channel Disposal came and got your trash can out of your yard and wheeled it down and dumped it. And when we told the community that they were going to roll their trash cans to the curb, oh my gosh.
And not only that, you had three.
You were going to have 3 containers.
I'm going to pick up the Coastal View here. It's Thursday, that's when the Coastal View comes out. Love the Coastal View.
Coastal View News was started in 1994 by Rosemary Finucchi, Gary Dobbins, and myself, Mike Van Stry. Gary and I still operate the paper in downtown Carpinteria. We also publish Carpinteria Magazine and Deep Surf Magazine out of this office, and our main mission is to provide news and information to Carpinterians about Carpinteria every week.
Many felt it was a welcome change from the days of the Carpinteria Herald, which had gone through various owners and towards the end caused a lot of community friction.
Those editorials were scathing sometimes against the city.
What were their politics?
I don't know.
Well, just say they weren't fair and balanced.
The Carpinteria decade ended on a sad note. A woman claiming that books are evil started a fire in the Carpinteria Library.
In January of 1994, the recently remodeled Carpinteria Library was burned by a woman. She had recently suffered a mental breakdown. Most of the contents were lost.
In 1994, Larry Nimmer started producing Touring with the Candidates in order to show a more personal side of the candidates and their take on the issues.
It's fun to watch because you see different sections of the town from different perspectives.
Here are some scenes from the 1994 episode of Touring with the Candidates.
Hi, my name is Judy Chesson. Should we go on our tour? This is our camper park here. This has been a bone of contention in the city side for a long time. because it was just way overcrowded. But then people like this go into the neighborhoods and crowd into the neighborhoods. It just shows me the desperate need that we have in this community for housing. We just had not done any building.
Hi, I'm Jim Trotter. Would you like to come in and take a visit?
Okay, thank you.
Here's some photos of some of my family. A lot of this is what protects us from growth. The fact that we have high-value agriculture keeps this property from being just growing houses. They're able to find a crop that'll actually produce an income that'll match the value of the land. Okay, here on the right is the new Girls Incorporated facility, a wonderful facility serving Carpinteria.
Hi, I'm Donna Jordan. Why don't you come right into my house?
Okay, thank you.
I want to pan around at the tilt-ups. Is one of the main reasons that got myself into politics. They just don't belong here. And I think they're indicative of the kind of lack of long-range planning and vision that we seem to be facing in the city. There's just an incompatibility here with the entryway to Carpinteria, particularly sitting on the marsh, which is just it was our most environmentally sensitive area.
Hi, I'm Ken Daniele. I'm ready to take a short tour of Carpinteria.
Hi, I'm Gary Nielsen. You want to come on in?
Okay. Hi, I'm Brad Stein, and welcome to my home. Come on in. The previous council had suggested the way to revitalize the downtown was by forming a redevelopment agency, and myself and a few others didn't think that was quite the way to go. They believe in removing buildings and building new, and I'm just the opposite. I think that we have a lot of historic value here and a lot of real diverse architectural styles, so that it doesn't look all the same shopping center type or mall type of structure. This house over here belonged to Marcus Cravens. On the right side? On the right side, one of the original families in the valley. This is one of the remodels that I was talking about, where the loan program has worked very successfully.
Hi, I'm Rob Godfrey. Would you like to come in?
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Come on in.
See where you live here.
We're here at number 201 on Eugenia Place, and it's been a point of some interesting decisions we've made over the years, especially these tilt-up buildings that you see down here. These were some real problem areas as far as what to do from a planning perspective. No matter what you chose, if you chose housing to go down here, there would be some complaints. We didn't want retail commercial down here. But what we knew we wanted and we needed room for were some small businesses who might have been operating out of their homes. Maybe they're manufacturers, reps, carpet installers, light industrial uses where they just needed a small office and some warehouse space. That's the reason for these buildings. This area, which is to the west of Aliso School, used to be the site of the Santa Barbara Lemon Association labor camp. All of the migrant workers that used to come in to help pick lemons had housing provided for them on this site. And as the need for those type of workers diminished, the need for the housing diminished.
Hi, I'm Bob Needham, and I'm going to take an opportunity today to show you around town on a bicycle. The big building here on the right is Kilovac. One of the things we're doing now is looking at this piece of property all the way down to Palm Avenue is maybe an area which will be changing over the future. Kilovac's a great neighbor. We'd like to keep him in town, but ultimately we'd like to see this into visitor serving commercial.
I hope you've enjoyed this opportunity of touring with the candidates.